about any items to review? Sorry about that, Lillian. All right. If not, Manager Pinger has our regularly scheduled Helene update.
Thank you, ma'am. And I believe our first update is always Dane and debris. Am I saying that right? I'm sorry, they're telling me it's somebody else, so I don't have my thing pulled up. It's taking forever. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Stacy Wood. I am a Public Information Officer and am leading the communications for long-term recovery. We have an update here for you on the resources that we have been working on as a community. And go ahead, topics for today. We're going to focus on recovery resources as a hot topic. The Buncombe County Helene recovery information can be found at engage.buncombecounty.org/Buncombe recovers. This is the county's Helene recovery site where you can stay up to date on important community meetings, discussions, timelines, investments, and Helene-related initiatives. So we want to make sure that the community has all the information that they need prior to going into making big decisions that we'll all have to make together as a community. And this is where we'll house that information. It will also be the portal for the community to provide feedback on long-term recovery plans and projects. And the community feedback that we get through this portal will influence our path forward as a community. We really appreciated the opportunity to engage with the community, and thanks for your support as well at the One Buncombe Resources for Recovery series. We consider that to be a great success. We had almost 500 attendees across the 4 events throughout the community: Barnardsville, Reynolds High School, Lester Community Center, and Owen High School. The series included an opportunity for community members to find on-site support such as housing assistance, financial aid, mental health support, and other essential services. And we really tried to approach it from a holistic perspective. And last night at Owen, in particular, we had access to free hot meals for attendees, so that was a nice addition. We continue to use our website to house resources and Helene-related updates. You can access the damage report from here and the banner at the top. We also have links, a lot of cross-linking to other community resources, including the Helene Resource Guide. And we also use this as a portal to our community updates. And so all of the same information you can find buncombecounty.org or buncombeready.org, and a lot of this information is duplicated on the Helene recovery page as well. So the community briefings continue to have strong viewership. In the month of February, we saw the community briefings get over 12,000 views. So we still continue to see high viewership for the briefings that we provide every Wednesday. In our social media, we continue to employ heavy social media use to share information. And our Facebook is outperforming Instagram in both reach and engagement, but engagement remains solid on both platforms with over 24,000 interactions on Facebook and over 15,000 on Instagram. Oh, I've included a screenshot here. We're going to go ahead. Okay. So the One Buncombe Call Center is still open and available for residents to use. The One Buncombe Call Center number is 828-250-6100. And we continue to see high usage of the One Buncombe Call Center for private property debris removal questions in particular. So I've included some of those numbers here. This was for the week of February 25th. We got 1,700 calls for private property debris removal, and then 1,800 for general debris questions, and then other calls not directed to Tetra Tech were mostly about hazard mitigation grant program and donations, volunteers, and then the emergency watershed program as well. Again, we are continuing to use this as a central location for folks to call with Helene-related questions. And moving forward, we're looking to develop a plan to continue to drive people towards that one point of contact, because I think what we're seeing, both in our in-person, our call center, and through our social, people do want to interact with us, and they are really looking for that in-person opportunity to speak with someone, either in person, over the phone, and they like to see us, and they are engaging with us. So these are just some of the things that we've seen over the past couple of weeks through our communication channels, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Stacy, do you have any questions?
Just want to say thank you so much for those resource recovery events. I think that was very impactful, and I've heard a lot of good feedback. So thank you and all the staff who I know worked very hard to pull that together, because that took a lot of organization, but it was impactful, and it meant a lot to those communities to bring it out within the communities. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks to the staff involved in that as well.
I was just going to mention a specific thank you related to the calls. I just get, a few dozen emails about debris. I can't imagine talking to that many people on the phone about it. So that's a Herculean effort. And I thank everyone involved in that for sure. I'm curious, between those two bullets, the private property versus the general debris, is that something you're kind of screening during the calls, and you categorize these calls later and kind of they fall into one of those two buckets? Is that generally how it's working?
Yes, so there's a phone tree option that folks can select. I can't remember the exact options right off the top of my head, but that's generally how they're divided up and how we're able to track the traffic.
So the caller self-selects, not the recipient of the call.
Push one or to push two.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then they'll bump them, they'll bounce them to whichever line they need to, because our solid waste also has an option in the phone tree, so there are a couple of different avenues for people to go explore through that, but they're most often connecting with a person.
Okay,
So,
great. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Stacy.
Next is debris with Christie and Dane.
I knew I'd beat Christy up here because she's got a bad ankle right now. So wanted to take just a quick second to say thank you to Christy Smith and our debris management team. Been doing fantastic work. And that's not to exclude any of the work that's going on with the recovery efforts, but specifically to our team. Christy, Lee Creighton, Cassie Lohmeyer have been doing stellar work. And a lot of work ahead of us, but a lot of great work's been done. And Christy, we thank you for your leadership. So, and Christy's going to give you an update now on debris management process.
I ditched the crutches from last time y'all saw me, so that's great. Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Christy again with the Solid Waste Department and also the Debris Recovery Support Function. Wanted to provide an update on all things debris since Hurricane Helene. We have several missions of debris removal. The first one is the right-of-way debris removal. That has been happening since October of 2024. We've moved over 1 million cubic yards of debris out of the right-of-way. Again, the right-of-way is the edge of the road, so the contractors can get near the edge of the road and grab the debris. If it's too far off the edge of the road and on private property, that's a separate mission for debris. That's the private property debris removal. I'll touch base on that here in a few minutes. But the debris mission for right-of-way, the most important thing to know is it ends March 31st. So our debris contractors are actively out there clearing right-of-way right now. We've asked our residents, please get the stuff to the right-of-way starting March 1st. Contractors are on the western end of the county working their way east. So get out there and get the debris to the right-of-way. If you're not sure if you have debris in right-of-way or private property, please call our One Buncombe call center. Again, 250-6100. 2 for debris, and we'll make sure to at least get somebody out there or get you signed up for private property debris removal. If you're in doubt, please sign up for what we call PPDR. That's the private property mission. And then the next debris mission was waterways. That came online in February. As of today, we've moved 285,000 cubic yards of debris out of the water. We've been doing it a little over a month. It's about 10,000 cubic yards a day. It's a significant amount of debris they're moving. So we're really excited on that movement and that mission. Right now, they're focused in the Swannanoa watershed area, but they will start branching out into the other waterways that Buncombe County prioritized with FEMA and the Corps of Engineers. Okay, and then the private property debris removal mission, that has an expiration date of April 15th, so we do want our residents to get signed up. I will advise that it can take a little longer to get through that program, on average a month. There's a lot of paperwork involved, legal documents, proof of ownership, proof of insurance, things like that. So we do want our residents to please sign up. They can go on our website, the buncombecounty.org. There's a Helene debris removal tab, and then there's an online application. I want our residents to please sign up so that we can get that debris moved out for them. It is a popular program, as you saw from Stacy's graphic. We do have a lot of residents that want that program. We have over 3,560 applications so far. 112 are commercial. We're actively cleaning up properties right now, so close to 500 cleaned up, and several more in the queue every day to get cleaned up. And again, April 15th, so please get those applications in. And then titled property, that's where we're out towing vehicles. So we're towing cars, vans, semi-trucks out of waterways, right-of-way, and private property. We're actively doing that every day. We are following our standard tow procedures with the Sheriff's Department. So our residents are getting a notification letter when we tow their vehicle in hopes that they can go claim their property. And again, they can use that call-in number if for any reason they can't find their vehicle and want help, we're happy to help. And some timeline reminders. Feels like we've been doing this a long time, but the timeline here looks fairly short. So again, we started in October. March, our biggest focus now is demolition. That's one of the missions within the PPDR mission. So that's for our residents that may have suffered some outbuilding loss or a loss of their home. It's no longer safe to reside in or to use. We can sign up for that demolition and get FEMA and the Corps of Engineers to pay for that. And right now we have 264 properties that have self-reported demolition. So those are the city of Asheville, town of Black Mountain, and unincorporated Buncombe County. Right now the focus for Buncombe County is the unincorporated portions of the county to follow our county permitting department and how they typically handle these type of demolitions. Other municipalities within the county would need to follow their local ordinances within their jurisdictional boundaries. And we are actively identifying priority demolitions. And again, that program is tied to PPDR, so April 15th is the deadline for that request. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Can you walk us through that with the demolition if somebody does need that, the steps, just to kind of help people
Absolutely.
understand that process better, please?
Yes, Tetra Tech is the county's consultant. They are the ones handling the application process and trying to get all of the legal documents. So the demolition piece is a check mark on the application. There are a little additional information we are asking. Something new that we found out after this application process had already started was if you do want demolition of the structure you reside in and there is a mortgage, we are going to ask the mortgage company to provide a letter saying it's okay to demo. So that is an additional piece that we're reaching out to our residents, but they simply check the box in the application on what they want demoed. That gets documented in the inspections with Tetra Tech, and then the contractor knows.
Question I have is, they're doing a great job in picking up the debris. I know in my neighborhood as I drive around the county. But what happens after March 31st? Because it's obvious from what I see, unless somebody knows a secret that I don't, it all won't be picked up by the end of March. And my concern is when we look at what we're up against with forest fires and all that now, if we leave that around, we're really gonna have a red-hot summer.
I agree with you 100%, and that is something that we're actively working on. We're keeping a pulse on it. The March 31st is just the right-of-way mission, so there's the other debris missions, the private property, the waterways, and the demolition. All debris mission has a goal of June 30th of this year to be done. There are expectations that we may ask for an extension to those deadlines, but we will kind of analyze that as we go.
Yeah, because if I go around, it's a whole lot in the right-of-way, even in the city of Asheville, yeah,
Right.
work to be done.
And that's really why we're wanting our residents, please call. If there's obvious portions of right-of-way that may or may not have been hit, or it's a hot spot, please call that call center and we can get that area addressed. A street name with a nearby residential address is the best place for us to kind of cue in those contractors. But yeah, we want our folks to tell us.
Thanks.
And just kind of to follow up on that, because I have not personally had to call, but what can one expect when they call that number? Is if it's after hours, voicemail, and then leave XYZ information? I just want to make it as clear as possible for anyone who might be looking for that service. What should they expect when they call that number?
I will check the hours. I don't know that. I have called it myself, and I'm just familiar with the number 2 where you go for debris. But you do talk to a person. They know the questions to ask and make sure that what you need is addressed. And it's usually a person answering that phone that has a lot of FAQs and should be able to help you. And if not, debris team's alerted so that we can follow up with that resident.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
First, I just want to thank you for all your work. I know how busy y'all have been on your team in your particular, so thank you, thank you, thank you. I spoke to a resident in Swannanoa this weekend, and they had some questions around debris removal from waterways. They said that they had spoken with the crew that was working, and there was part of a car, and they said, we probably can't get that. And they said, no, you're supposed to be able to get all this out of the river. And so anything like that, did they call the 850-250-6100 number for waterway removal as well?
Yes, please call that debris hotline, the 250-6100, and report that. I have a feeling in some of these places they'll go back to get that with the tow company, and we've got a process in place for that. But yeah, please alert us of those instances.
Pass it along. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do have a question. So when somebody contacts Tetra Tech, how do they know that they're still in line or their problem is still being looked at? So I'm getting emails from people that's like, am I on the list? What's going on? What's an easy way to check that?
Yes, ma'am. So they can call that call-in number again and provide their name and address. And then we also, Tetra Tech has multiple call-out times where they're trying to reconnect with the residents that have applied. So they're going by emails, phone calls, during the day, off hours, weekends, trying to connect with that resident. That can be why it takes so long sometimes to get the application open to close, just the back and forth. But yeah, we can check on the status of their application at any time.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Christy, Dane, thank you both. This is a lot of really hard work, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
My pleasure, and I'm excited to get it cleaned up.
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference driving in on Riverside to work in the mornings and seeing the vegetative debris being cleaned up this week. You start to see the progress, and that's really terrific. Thank you.
Good. I'm just glad to see it. Thank you.
Christy, we won't hold the crutches against you if you need them next time,
I'm glad to drop them.
Thank you both.
And next is Jonathan Jones on housing.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jonathan Jones with Community Development Division. To start out the review of housing and case management, we will take a look at the sheltering and temporary housing data that staff have been receiving updates from FEMA on the number of applications and services provided. As of March 1st, 1,565 households are in some sort of temporary housing situation. We continue to see those numbers decline over time as we have seen folks exit TSA. We have also, which is the temporary transitional sheltering assistance. We have seen the number of households receiving rental assistance increase. So at this time, we have approximately 1,029 households receiving rental assistance from FEMA. It's important to note that households that are receiving that FEMA rental assistance aren't exited from temporary or transitional sheltering assistance. If for some reason their rental situation doesn't pan out immediately, they would still be eligible for a hotel stay. As we look at the transitional housing assistance numbers, now the count is approximately 468 Buncombe County resident households who are in TSA. 373 of them are in hotel locations within the county. Another 95 are staying in surrounding counties or out of state. As it stands, FEMA is doing continual eligibility reviews on households to see if they continue to stay in TSA. A number of reasons that they may exit would be if they've not been in contact with FEMA or FEMA's not been able to reach them for an inspection on their residence, if their home has been determined to be habitable, or if they have voluntarily withdrawn. So at this time, 318 households are expected to remain eligible through March 6th, and another 150 approximately through the 20th of this month. So up until now, the county has continued to sort of stay in touch with our state and federal partners to help mobilize response on TSA. Staff have reached out to the hotels to make sure they are communicating with their guests. And the county has also leveraged the Code Red emergency text messaging system to help inform guests about deadlines that are coming up and other resources in the community. The county also leveraged its contract with Tetra Tech to have community navigators reaching out to guests, visiting hotel locations, providing guests with information about community resources. And at this time, across 23 hotels have made contact with 2,440 households that were accessing TSA. We've also been working with the Multi-Agency Shelter Transition Team, or MAST. Their focus has been on pre-disaster unhoused folks that were in TSA, so helping make sure that they can transition to stable housing situations. And then there's also been case managers who are directly working for FEMA as part of the disaster survivor assistance. So those are FEMA staff who are going out into the community and connecting with survivors at high occupancy hotels. The next phase has been to transition some of that case management work to the disaster case management that's being coordinated by the North Carolina Emergency Management. This is a FEMA-funded activity, but coordinated and implemented by the state. The idea is to make contact with those survivor households and help develop personalized housing plans. So as folks are trying to navigate where their next stable housing situation is or how to get back to their home, the Disaster Case Management, or DCM, is available. All persons who have been impacted by the storm are eligible for disaster case management. Just last week, the county hosted a kickoff with 15 case managers who are coming into the area to help expand those efforts. And at this time, of the 2,682 households that have been connected with disaster case management, almost 2,000 of them are within Buncombe County.
And that's available to folks all across the region?
Yes.
And 71% have been out of Buncombe County?
Correct. And then shifting to some of the FEMA data related to damaged units, there have been ongoing reports on looks like our graph's a little bit out of scale there. The most recent data shows that there is 11,633 units that have reported damage. 91% of them have some sort of habitability repairs required. 704 with major damage, and 360 were completely destroyed. Drilling down a little bit on those destroyed units, we see that about 2/3 of them were either mobile homes or single-family homes and duplexes, and you'll notice sort of a disproportionate impact on mobile homes, representing about 40% of the damaged units in Buncombe County. We look at the the ownership status of those destroyed units. It's close to 50-50 between renters and owners. And then if we look at the self-reported income, so as households are applying for FEMA assistance, they are asked to provide their self-reported income. And we have measured this across the various levels of area median income. So about 2/3 are below 80% AMI, as we would refer to those as low and moderate income households. 19% would be above that 80% threshold, and then another 14% were not reported. And again, for FEMA assistance or disaster case management, all of those households would be eligible for help. But part of the reason we wanted to look at those low and moderate income households specifically at this time is to start focusing our efforts as the Community Development Block Grant disaster recovery funds, as those action plans are being developed. The focus of those resources are on low and moderate income households. So we'll begin to help with households at those income levels. That, I'll see if there are any questions.
Are there any questions for Jonathan? All right, thank you so much. We appreciate your work.
And our last topic on Helene today is Community Development Block Grant with EV Otterstar.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Here to provide an overview and the actions that staff have been taking with relationship to the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, or as we call it, CDBG-DR, and perfect transition from Jonathan there mentioning it. For your overview, CDBG-DR are grant funds that are appropriated by Congress and then allocated by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, to rebuild disaster-impacted areas and provide crucial seed money to start long-term recovery processes. On some key facts here, CDBG-DR is not a standing fund. It is a response to any disasters that happen in the United States. HUD reviews these plans that we're talking about with a lens to see if the funds are being used as a source of funding of last resort. They want to see that communities are addressing their needs with other types of funding, and then this is the last layer on your cake to meet your recovery goals. I mentioned the unmet disaster-related needs. Communities need to do assessments when they have been allocated these funds to determine the unmet needs. And as Jonathan was mentioning, the funds are also designed to primarily impact low to moderate income areas or persons. HUD also outlines 3 areas for eligible activities, which are housing, infrastructure, and economic revitalization. Though I mentioned the funds are allocated, and so it's not a standing project that we know will come, CDBG-DR is now seen as one of the primary tools that communities receive in order to recover from disaster. As such, we've been aware of the funds and have been working with Tetra Tech, our recovery consulting firm, to learn about the funding source and then also track its development. So with our first task order with Tetra Tech in October, we first started learning about the program. And then all of our activities related to CDBG-DR have accelerated over the last few months. In January, Tetra Tech hosted a CDBG-DR planning session for recovery support function leads During this meeting, we talked about different projects that we are aware of that could fit under those buckets for housing, infrastructure, and economic revitalization, particularly focusing on alignment with existing county plans. Soon thereafter, on the 16th, HUD announced the allocation announcement notice, which notified the city of Asheville and the state, and then also started the 90-day window for action plan development, which y'all have been hearing about in the community. During this time, we have been working towards understanding the state and city action plan processes and launching our own permanent housing and CDBG-DR work group, which has been reviewing the plans and seeing how we might be able to meet some of the community's long-term housing needs. During this time also, our finance and grants team have worked together to create a long-term recovery project submission and funding process. And then recently we started reviewing the state action plan, which was published on February 18th. For our community, under CDBG-DR, both the state of North Carolina and the city of Asheville have received allocations of funding. As a result, they'll need to develop their action plans. We know a little bit more about the state action plan since it's been published. The state was awarded $1.4 billion. Their draft was published on February 18th, and that launched the 30-day public comment period. The state will respond to every public comment that's made, and they also hosted a series of public hearings, which staff and several of the commissioners here attended on February 24th. For the city of Asheville's action plan, they were awarded $225 million. We anticipate that the draft action plan will be released today, this evening. They put out a press release earlier that also outlined their upcoming input sessions. So there's more information to come on the city's plan. Once they publish the draft, anticipated later today, that will start their 30-day public comment period. For next steps, both the state and the city action plans are due to HUD on April 15th. And so they will close their public comment periods, finalize their drafts, and submit those to HUD for review. As I mentioned, we do know a little bit more about the state plan since it's already been published, so I wanted to provide a few key details about that. Of the $1.4 billion that was allocated to the state for disaster recovery with CDBG-DR, they've allocated a large portion of that, over $1 billion, to housing. The majority of these funds will be for a state-centric direct service program that's called Reconstruction and Rehabilitation for Owner-Occupied Units. Under housing, there will also be competitive applications for workforce housing for ownership and multifamily construction programs. The next largest bucket of funds is for infrastructure. This is for $193 million. The state has outlined a community infrastructure program, but this project has the least detail in the plan. So we anticipate there will be a lot of flexibility with applications for these funds. And then finally, for economic revitalization, the state has drafted use of the funds at $111 million for commercial district revitalization, which will also be a competitive application. Items of note in the state action plan so far: the city of Asheville and state are likely to coordinate on the reconstruction and rehabilitation program, and the state draft action plan establishes that it may expend funds in the city. We received notice from Tetra Tech in our discussions that committing over 70% of funds to housing is a common practice, as HUD, their primary focus is on affordable housing. And then I also mentioned those projects that will be competitive grants. Buncombe County will be an eligible applicant for all of those competitive grant programs. On the action for the county, staff have been evaluating the state plan and have been drafting suggestions for Buncombe County's public comment. You all have received a memo with some of that information. If you do have any thoughts, please share those with County Manager Pinder, and we'll incorporate that feedback. Comments may include identifying projects that have not been included in the state's plan and requesting clarification on the competitive grant program, so that way, as Jonathan mentioned, we can start making some plans to use those funds to best effect. Staff will return on March 18th to the 5 p.m. meeting with a draft letter requesting board action for approval. which is timely because comments are due on the state action plan on March 20th. So we'll be getting it right under there. I also wanted to note for community members who might be watching this presentation that the community can also comment on the state's draft action plan. The NC Commerce website lists several different ways that they can comment, including a form, sending in an email. As the state has joked, they also have a fax machine available if you want to fax a comment in. But the community is more than welcome to also make their own comments on the plan. Any questions?
Are there any questions for EB?
Can someone remind me, I forget if it's by congressional action or just HUD policy, that a certain percentage of the funds, the housing funds, must be used for, I think it's 70% LMI. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I don't actually know if it's part of congressional action or if it's the HUD's policy, but it is part of HUD policy,
Okay.
and that will be a part of the review process for both the state and city plan, that they need to ensure that they're complying with those guide rails.
If I'm looking at my math right, on Jonathan's last slide, he had that pie graph for the self-reported income data. And I know that's self-reported anecdotal data, but it doesn't quite overlap with that. So there's going to be some folks kind of in this above 70% AMI that kind of fall out of the eligibility. So that's just something to think about as we provide our comments, I guess.
Sorry, just to clarify, it's 70% of funds that are for low to moderate income families. And so that is the majority of funds. The target is for 80% AMI or
80.
lower.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
there is the moderate income component, which I'm not as familiar on. The majority of funds they do want to be used for low income, but moderate income goes up to 120% of AMI. And that is where there's some flexibility, but the focus of the plan, if you look in the state plan, I don't remember the page, but there is a chart where they indicate some of their priorities for the HUD mid-identified areas, the most impacted areas. And it'll say that the priority is to serve households under 60% of AMI first, then under 80%. And then if there's funding remaining, then that moderate income portion kicks in.
That's table 5, page 24. I think
Yeah, there you go.
It's 80%, not 70. Okay, thank you.
But you had the proportion there, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was just going to say quickly, for folks that are watching, please, in the public, comment on that. I'm excited that the state has gotten to work on this. I think it's important that the state try and get ahead of other municipalities, other plans that are going forward. I think there's almost 50 plans that are probably coming into HUD, and we've seen an 84% cut to the Department of, to HUD's Office of Community Planning and Development. So it leaves about 150 people to administer this nationwide program. So I'm really hoping that the state can get towards the front of the line with that diminished staff that they're going to have to dole out all this money. So I appreciate all the staff work that's going into getting our comments ready.
All right. EB, thank you so much. Appreciate your work on this and look forward to hopefully being a recipient of some money for affordable housing.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That is the last topic on Helene today, so.
Okay.
Agenda item.
All right, so our next agenda item is a Cox Avenue update. And Matthew Card is joining us.
That's right. Oh, there she is. So I'm Matt Card with
And
Community
Sarah Odia.
Development, here to provide an update on the Cox Avenue Affordable Housing Project. We have Sarah Odio here with us. Hi, Sarah, can you hear us? All right. She is with the School of Government Development Finance Initiative and is here to help answer any questions. Once we get the PowerPoint pulled up, I can advance this. All right. All right. So the first couple of slides in the presentation provide background information and a reminder of how we got here. The goal of affordable housing has been a priority of the county for some time as the cost of housing continues to increase and supply of housing falls short of meeting demand. Goals for providing affordable housing have been incorporated into various county plans and initiatives, including the Strategic Plan and Racial Equity Action Plan. The Affordable Housing Committee created goals, including goals for multifamily residential and for rental units, that this project would help the county achieve. These goals, along with an effort to plan for county-owned properties, led to a partnership with Sarah and DFI. A partnership with DFI has been critical to getting to this point today. I just kind of want to emphasize that again. DFI has been a huge partner, and so the partnership with them really has been critical of why we're here today. To begin the process, DFI conducted a housing feasibility analysis outlining current market conditions and the need for more affordable housing. DFI identified and studied county-owned land to find the best properties to develop affordable housing on. After sites were identified, DFI conducted a feasibility analysis and community engagement. Community engagement was critical to determining guiding public interest for the project. Cox Avenue became one of the top sites due to its location in downtown Asheville, proximity to amenities like the ART bus transfer station, and the ability to achieve a perfect, hopefully a perfect score on a LIHTC application. Additional community engagement was done to determine the best option for developing the site and match guiding public interest with development options. Last year, from July to September, a solicitation for development proposals was open in order to find a partner to develop the project. Looking at the site again, there are 3 county-owned parcels identified for development, as you can see here on this map. Located on these parcels are the current Bureau of Identification, Election Services, and leased surface parking. A priority that came out of public input was to close a small section of Sawyer Street, as you can see here on this map, for use with this project. This would enhance the pedestrian experience along Cox Avenue and also along Sawyer Street, and it would allow to maximize the use of the site with additional affordable units. Last August, Asheville City Council voted to approve closing Sawyer Street in the county's request, per the county's request, when development approval is given for this project. DFI's process incorporates substantial public engagement to guide the outcome of development. As you can see here, we've got the guiding public interest created through this process. This is something you've seen before, you've seen a few times, but this was a kind of a tool and a guide to help create development options and to put in the solicitation for Cox Avenue. Led by the guiding public interest and public input, the commissioners selected this concept, as you see here, as the best option for the site. This option allowed for maximizing affordable units with a unique placemaking opportunity along Cox Avenue, Sawyer, and Aston. As previously mentioned and presented in November, a solicitation for developer proposals ran from July to September. The county received 9 proposals, not only from local developers, but also from national developers as well. It was good to see so much interest indicating that this is a competitive, affordable housing project for our area. On this slide, you can see the selection criteria outlined in the solicitation. It was used to help select a developer. This criteria helped the county narrow down development proposals. Along with having guiding public interest and set selection criteria, DFI and the county reviewed proposals based on the feasibility of development plan, financials, design, the ability to deliver the project. DFI requested clarifying information when necessary. This led to interviews with 4 developers. Based on the proposals and the interviews, staff is recommending Harmony Housing as the developer for the Cox Avenue project. Harmony Housing is based in Raleigh. Harmony Housing demonstrated alignment with guiding public interest in the solicitation criteria. They maximized the site with affordable units, on-site parking. They had a thoughtful design, thoughtful commercial spaces, pedestrian spaces, community spaces, and included additional elements that were kind of unique to see, like a rooftop garden and public art. Other items that were considered included the confidence that they had in the financing, ability to maximize public investment, and the ability to cover any financial gaps in the project. They had relevant experience in LIHTC, and also in settings like Cox Avenue. Harmony Housing articulated best how they would be a good partner with the county and actively engage with the county throughout the entire process. Here are the conceptual designs Harmony Housing provided in the proposal. These may change as we move along in the process, but this is kind of an idea of what you could see here on Cox Avenue. This is on Cox Avenue looking towards the Sawyer Street closing. Back up one more. This right here this is standing on Sawyer Street and looking towards Cox Avenue. You can see there's the brick rental units. They're styled like townhomes lining the left side of Sawyer Street. And then you can also see an elevated green roof space that spans over what would be the closed portion of Sawyer Street. This provides an idea of what Sawyer Street could look like. Last, this works. Oh, there we go. All right. So last, you can see the development plan and plan view showing the different components that they outline in their proposal for the project. And again, some of these may change, but it gives kind of a conceptual idea of what could be done here. It's pretty exciting. Is there a trick to the clicker? Does anybody know the trick? Here's a general unit mix and affordability targets that the Harmony Housing put in their proposal. They're proposing a total of 206 units. And you can see on the right side, the AMI breakdown of what they thought they could achieve here on the site. Obviously, this is a 100% affordable project with all units at 80% area median income or less. All right. The proposal has a total cost of $74.5 million is what they put in their proposal. They also identified a $6.9 million gap that they were confident that they could find a way to fill that gap. And just a reminder here, as you can see in that box on the bottom, that the county has considered committing $9.8 million to the project. The county would ground lease the property at a nominal rate, and the developer could seek tax exemption if they so choose. The milestone schedule in the proposal indicates applying for the 9% low-income housing tax credits in January of 2026, with potential groundbreaking in early 2027. Construction could be complete as early as 2029. So at the board's next meeting on March 18th, staff will request board action on negotiating an MOU with Harmony Housing. The MOU is a non-binding agreement outlining each party's responsibilities and establishing milestones before a development agreement can be reached. It is anticipated that development agreement will take some time to formalize, but in the meantime, the county and Harmony Housing can work together on some key pieces on moving this project forward as listed here on the slide. And I'm more than happy to take any questions, or Sarah, as well with DFI, can take any questions that you might have.
Matt, I have one question for you. This is a very exciting project that we've been working on for quite some time, and you mentioned the importance of that location to be able to go after the LIHTC funding, of I think the 4 and 9%. Can you talk a little bit about why that location is such a good location and what that helps us to achieve?
Yeah, I can actually. If Sarah is available, she probably could speak to that better than I can. Sarah, is that something you want to answer?
Yeah. So the low-income housing tax credit program is pretty competitive, and it outlines how you can compete. And it's related to proximity to certain amenities like a grocery store, pharmacy, secondary retail. This site is in the right place in terms of proximity, and it gets bonus points for being right across the street from the bus station. So that in particular is incredibly impactful for making this site a competitive site.
Thank you. And thanks for all the work to get us to this point. Because we know how desperately our community needs more housing, and especially more housing that people can afford.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's exciting to see this come to fruition and see the visuals of what we had talked about for so long, and seeing that we're getting closer, and particularly through that affordable housing lens right now, post-Helene, it's exciting to see. So thanks to you and your team and Sarah and her team for getting us to this point. We'll look forward to taking a vote next week, in 2 weeks.
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I was just
Sorry.
going to comment about how much I like it, but it's, I think we.
Yeah, I know. Say it, Commissioner Sloan. He's very excited about it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, we have our reappraisal planning and update with Eric Kreger.
Figure out how to work this thing really quick. I'm sorry.
So we might need a class.
All right. Thank you all for having me here today. Really appreciate it. I'm Eric Kreger, the interim assessor for Buncombe County here. So first up, reappraisal was delayed October 15th of 2024 due to, oh, sorry. Oh, oh, you're okay. All right. Great. So reappraisal delayed middle October after Helene. So we were 70% way through the 2025 reappraisal. That's an estimate, but we were in the phase of where we were putting market adjustments on neighborhoods and our homes and local business, local commercial parcels, things like that. So we were in the final stages of the reappraisal, and we delayed it to January 1 of 2026. So what that meant for us is our entire personal property, real estate, our data folks were focused solely on the effects of Helene, putting damage assessments out there, doing site visits. So over that time, we did thousands of site visits, thousands of parcels in person. We also had access to all kinds of data sets. We were reviewing internally and figuring out how to get through this process, what are we going to do about these values right now as far as putting damage assessments together on them. So that affected hundreds of business accounts as well, our personal property, hundreds of mobile homes, and dozens of parks as well, mobile home parks. So currently right now, next week, we will be sending out 2025 real estate value notices. We are not far off from a typical non-reappraisal year, which to me, that's a great accomplishment for this team that we have over there. Typically in a non-reappraisal year, it's 10,000 to 12,000 notices. This year we'll be sending out 17,000 real estate notices alone. So it's a testament to the dedication of that team over there. Residential, commercial, personal property, individual personal property and business. They, and the data folks, they all did a great job coming together and getting this done for us in a timely manner. Next slide. Oh, we're back one more. So Appreciate it. All right, that's great. So this slide here is our overall reappraisal recommendations and the goals. So if you'll remember, we had an ad hoc reappraisal committee after 2021. We also had a reappraisal equity study done by an external consultant, Kevin Keene. And we also have some internal recommendations from our team, our data team, our residential appraisers, commercial appraisers, and the managers over there. We have some of our own recommendations. And what you'll find as I go through these next few slides is they all relate to me really to two things. It's outreach, education, and data quality. Data quality is a big deal, and you can see an assessment. So you can see, put a quote up there. That's actually, I stole that from the School of Government. Pretty good data results and a pretty good reappraisal. It's not a positive quote. That's not what you want. You want excellent data and you want an excellent reappraisal. So everything we do in that office, we strive to get the best quality data we can get, whether a house is sold or whether it is unsold. So I'll go ahead and go to these next slides and break them down this way.
Sorry, Eric, can I pause you and ask a question about that
Yes,
last
absolutely.
slide? That bullet that talks about a focus on luxury and modest properties, I think as you know, we've talked a lot about that internally and externally, and it's been in the media, and there's been a lot of debate, and we got that consultant to in part look at that kind of question. And I guess I just want to hear your thoughts today about what that bullet might mean to you.
Well, what that means to me, my background is in being a data analyst, so that's what I'm focused on, trying to get that data quality as good as we can in the office. Well, and you can't step foot in these properties by statute, right? So how do you accomplish that? So what we're doing is we're scouring permits, and we are scouring sales. We are doing site visits to the parcels, but we're actually building a small team to try to get to as many of these parcels as we can, to review the data, the market data. And one of the things I'll say about the luxury properties is since 21, you've seen those sales happen more and more frequently. So there's a higher frequency of those types of sales. So we have more of a pool of data to analyze and come up with valuations accordingly. Also that means some of the changes we are making that you'll see in this upcoming schedule of values that were in the previous one was more granular ability to put quality adjustments on these homes and a better way to categorize them, I should say, or group them together. So you'll hear me say groupings, and over the next year, you'll hear me say that phrase a lot. That's a big part of assessment. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yeah. Thank
I'll
you.
try to tiptoe. I'm trying to.
No, I'm putting you on the spot. Thank you.
Oh, no, you're
We're
great.
going to touch on all of those recommendations throughout the presentation as well.
Okay.
Yes. Slide. So first slide here is for the ad hoc reappraisal committee suggestions, or recommendations. Most of those focused around outreach and education. And what we took from that is going to community meetings, holding our own meetings and gatherings, and asking and doing anything from what you'll see at the bottom is our record card campaign, where you open your mailbox and you got a postcard from us to verify your data. So over the last 2 years, we've held over 80 events and presentations. We've been on Spotlight Carolina on WLOS. We've published some flyers out there. We've been at a lot of community events and meetings, social media posts. We've updated our website. The collector, our CAPE department, and our IT department came together, and I think we've built a really great website and tax.buncombecounty.org. So you can go there. It's a one-stop shop. Review your property data. You can even appeal, pay your bill, do all those things. So improvements in our data quality is we did get some additional staffing. Our real estate department's grown a little bit. That's helped with dealing with all of our parcel data that we have. Been able to get more site visits done. Been able to review more information of each property, and help with customer service. And the last piece that I do want to touch on is an audit tool that we have. And one of the committee members, I don't know if you all remember, he actually said, how do you take the person out of it, of the appraisal? How do you step back and go, I just use it as an audit tool, basically. So we have a machine learning, it's not a consultant, but a vendor that supplies us with valuations. And we don't use it as a valuation method, but we use it as an audit tool. Because those are vastly different, there's something going on there. So we investigate that, figure it out, make a correction, and if there is one to be made. Now, a big piece is in the recommendations too, and what you just touched on, the reappraisal equity study that Kevin Keene did. So if you all haven't seen this, here it is. It's I look at this thing all the time. You can see how ragged it is. But it's on our website on My Value BC. You can download it, review it, and read through it. But basically, what Kevin Keene did is looked at our post-2021 reappraisal data and just did an equity study on it. He did what you cannot do in an assessment office, which is integrate demographics and census data. We cannot do that. We should not be doing that. But we use someone external to, hey, show us warts and all. What's going on in our department? Like, help us fix anything if we need to fix it. So Kevin did that, and he made a lot of recommendations. So I consolidated them here. And a lot of his recommendations, I'll say up front, are long-term, slow burns, long-term goals. It takes time to do a lot of these things that we're trying to do in our office. But the goal is better each and every time we have to do a reappraisal. So, like you just said, team dedicated to luxury and manufactured homes. So you almost see the same disparity on the modest properties as you do with the luxury properties. And that's because you have those data quality issues. You can't go inside of them, and they can vary greatly on each home. Site visits to all parcels within disadvantaged communities. So it's around 3,000 parcels. In one section of his study, he identifies disadvantaged communities. Now, those are census block groups. There's 8 of them. I think we have 160 something in the county, and he identified eight census block groups where the populations of non-white residents is higher than 40%, and it's below the median income. So that's what those are. And what we also found is these haven't, not the majority of them or anything like that, but we found that many of them hadn't been site visited in a few years. So that's our goal this year. We're going to site visit every single one of those to make sure we have the property listed correctly. Data modeling for accurate valuations. Now, I won't go into the weeds on that, but I can get really nerdy with this one. But that's referring to regression modeling. We have a data team. We're currently building, a way to do data modeling in our office to help pull out the noise of the market and help create valuations for unsold properties. That's what that will help with greatly. So it'll take your data, and it takes a lot of training and time to nail that down. But we will be integrating that in this reappraisal, but we're going to use it as an audit tool primarily. So modernize our workflow and address staffing concerns. That's what we're working through. So data modelers, I just touched on. Big piece was, previously we didn't have anyone other than the appraisers answering our phones, doing customer service. That's been a big lift for us. We do have a member of staff dedicated to doing that now. We also have some contract workers helping us with that, and that's allowing our appraisers to do appraisal work, our data folks do data work, not taking them away from their job or a project that they're working on. And that's been a major help for us. And data collectors. That's entry-level appraisers going out in the field collecting data for us. We have some members of staff doing that, and we also have some contract workers. So appraisal team recommendations. So, I'll touch on these at a high level, but refine land and building valuation processes. So, a big piece of this, and you'll see it there, that's actually a dashboard that our data folks built. We all built it together. So these are types of things we didn't have previous to 2021. So we had maps, obviously, and spreadsheets and things like that. But when you can create almost a program that can put all that up in front of you and tease out all the issues you might have in your data set or help aggregate information for you with graphs and charts, it just makes it so much easier and can help you come to a more refined approach. And what it also helps us with It's consistent valuation for all components. I want to talk about that just for a second, what I mean by that. A component of a parcel is your land and your building. So you may hear sometimes in the media, things like that, there could be pictures of two pieces of land right next to each other, and the values are, the land's different, maybe by $50,000. But in the end, the total market value could be $350 and it match. So we're eliminating that out of this reappraisal. We are working through our processes internally, using these dashboards, using our maps, and making sure that's less confusing for everybody. Depreciation audits and upgrades, it goes in the same boat there, that we're just putting more granular on our grades and condition codes. Parker, kind of like Commissioner, what we were saying earlier in that last one, that will help with that process with luxury homes. Market area redelineation. So this is a mapping-based project, and also something that we've talked about before. We currently have 2,600 neighborhoods in the county right now, and these are considered their own individual market areas that we have to review. Now, we're working to redelineate and, group those parcels, my hand talker, I'm sorry, y'all. Group those parcels together to create a lower number of those and make that a little less confusing, and it can be kind of convoluted. So what number we're going to arrive at, I can't really tell you what we'll arrive at because I don't know that exact number yet, but I do plan to update with those numbers as we go through this year. So transparency audits and measures. So typically we'll have a few appraisers, local appraisers, analyze our values, look at those after a reappraisal is complete, and kind of help us just review them. But this time around, we are putting out an RFP for a reappraisal consultant. Now, they're going to help us with our processes, like I've stepped through here, and it's suggesting the updates and changes. They're actually going to take our values and come up with their own valuations as well, so we can compare and audit. And they're also going to help us build models and things like that. So it's going to be a major lift, and it's going to be a big step in the right direction of our data quality. So the reappraisal timeline. So this is just for the year, this slide is just for the year of 2025. So we're currently finalizing our evaluation methodologies and our improvements to the process. Like I said, we were 70% of the way there. A lot of these goals we were already working on them for last year before we delayed. The RFP is currently published. The reappraisal consultant work should begin around in April. Data analysis and research performed for the schedule of values, and residential commercial questionnaire and interviews will be set. So what we'll be doing there is we'll be interviewing commercial and residential contractors, but we're also going to be sending out income surveys to commercial properties like apartments and hotels, things like that, so we can set our income models again post-storm and making sure that we are getting updated data from these owners. So the schedule of values, I'll come in and informally present that to you in July, late June, July. And the schedule of values presentation, so it'll be the formal presentation in August. You'll have a resolution to adopt the schedule of values in September, and then the appeal period will be open in October. And then the final value audits that we'll be doing internally with the consultant will be in November and then in December as well. So after 2026, we'll continue to audit and review our information and our values. And then in January 1 of 26, the informal appeal period does open. However, typically, like this year, your notices don't go out till the goal's mid-February. So mid-February to early March. And they'll get that notice, the residents and the commercial businesses of this in the county will get that notice, and they'll receive an appeal period on that as well. And they'll have an appeal form they can fill out and mail in, or they'll be able to go to the website and do it online. Now in April, the Board of Equalization and Review convenes, and the informal appeal period closes. The formal appeal period opens, and you will be able to appeal directly to that board. And the Board of Equalization adjourns in May, and the formal appeal period will close, and then the hearings will begin after. And we'll be hearing the reappraisal appeals until they're all heard. So could be up until the following year. Any questions?
Questions for Eric?
Not really a question, but just kind of a comment. This is my first time on commission going through a reappraisal process, and really coming to appreciate from the Board of Equalization and Review through your process and better understanding how much goes into this as opposed to just seeing a number when the time rolls around. So I appreciate the methodical approach that y'all are taking and the window for people who want to be invested and scrutinize and nerd out with us about regression discussions. We'll have a chance to do that, and I think that's really important for people to see that transparent process. So thank you for making that digestible and accessible that everyone can see how much work is going into this and that there's a check and balance to outside parties looking at what we're doing. And because this is one of those things I'm gathering that multiple people have lots of opinions about how they do the right way. And then there's also what the law says. So between those two things, I think this is kind of like the perfect approach of staying within the lines while also being creative about how we do this in a fair and transparent manner.
Thank you. Yeah.
And my question is, I know we had put off the reappraisal, obviously based on Helene, and can you just speak some to the decision to go ahead and proceed with that reappraisal in this upcoming year, and why that is staff's recommendation?
Sure. Well, we report our sales ratio studies to the Department of Revenue, quarterly, and then also at the end of the year. And our assessment level right now, which is our market value versus our appraised value, is currently at 62%. So we are 38% below market value. And state law says we should be, at a median at the county, very close to 100%. So, and a successful reappraisal, median countywide, is considered to be above 95, and around 105 to 110%.
Thank you.
I'm curious, hey, sorry.
Also,
Oh, no, you're good.
Drew, can I,
Um,
Drew,
Just a moment.
Drew,
Oh, I'm sorry.
can you also speak to the fact of what the law says if we fall below what the percentage is?
Yes, thank you.
I thought
Thank
that's
you.
what you were, I'm sorry.
Yes, so, no, you're great. So if you're below 85%, you get a notice saying that you must do reappraisal within 3 years. We got that notice January 1 of 23. So we were able to delay it at this level, this board, for that reason. We were 2 years past that. So we must do it January 1 of 26.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Eric, I
Appreciate
want to
that.
thank you. This is the second time I've been through it, and I watched it for 40 years as a banker and as a resident of Buncombe County. But you all have come a long way. It's a lot more transparent, and we're getting to the point now, I hope that all of the taxpayers can understand what we're doing, because I think it was a lot of questions before, and it has been. And I know early on when I first bought my house, and the first time I went through it years ago, I had a lot of questions. And even when I talked to some of the people in the office there, it was like I was speaking French and they were speaking Russian, you know, they didn't get on the same wavelength. But I think you all are doing a good job, and thank you for the hard work you and your staff have done, I know, to get us to this point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Commissioner Ball had one question too.
Yeah, so given that y'all were about 70% through the work of the appraisal last time, I'm curious, I know that we're on the other side of the storm. It feels like a different world. Y'all are making some really great updates to the process. Can any of that past work be utilized, or are we really starting from scratch?
As far as the methodology that we had updated and changed, the modernization of the workflow, yes, we will be. A lot of that base work is done, but also what delaying it, the reappraisal has also done is allowed us to improve some things that were more on our long-term goals for 29. So it's, you know, it's not a positive thing at all, but there is an upside to being delayed. We're going to get our data quality a lot better, even better than we were. And
Bright silver lining.
yeah, it is. And I think we currently have the best data quality we've ever had in that office. So it's very, very happy with what we have going on right now.
Thanks for all y'all's work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Eric. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all.
All right, and Scott Metcalf is joining us with a front-facing department office update.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, I'm Scott Metcalf, here to provide an update on the Comprehensive Facilities Plan and our progress on the forward-facing facility. In 2020, we we had a comprehensive facilities assessment with Clark Patterson Lee. In 2021, that assessment turned into a comprehensive facilities plan that was adopted by the commissioners. Our goals for the assessment was to conduct a building conditions assessment, establish a maintenance plan, and conduct space management assessment to identify opportunities to combine operations, increase building utilization, and reduce costs. We evaluated 38 buildings, with 1 being poor, 5 being excellent. 26 of those buildings scored less than a 3.5. We developed a 15-year maintenance and capital improvement plan. And some of the buildings were partially vacant and underutilized. And in response, we created a plan to consolidate and increase our efficiency. Of the coming from the comprehensive facilities plan was the birth of several projects. We did a renovation at 40 Cox to move all of HHS staff from 35 Woodfin to 40 Cox. This emptied 35 Woodfin for renovation, which leads to our next project, which was 35 Woodfin forward-facing renovation. It takes 7 new departments and empties 5 locations for future projects. Also, at 35 Woodfin, we're renovating a portion of the space to create a backup 911 center. In the event of failure at the primary location, this would be a place that we could go to continue coverage. 2945 Riverside Drive, it's the new General Services Fleet Complex, currently under construction. This project empties 3 locations, 40 McCormick, 194 Homney Creek, and 52 APAC. 40 McCormick will become a new EMS base, which should increase our response times. The existing fleet at 194 Homney Creek will expand the transfer station to provide better customer service and reduce wait times. And 52 APAC, there are plans for a new Parks and Rec facility. Vacating functionally obsolete buildings frees up county properties for other projects like our affordable housing study that Matthew spoke of earlier. The county partnered with UNC School of Government and DFI, evaluated 3 county properties, 35 Woodfin, 46 Valley, and Cox Avenue. Cox Avenue scoring the highest in this study. Our comprehensive facility plan supports Buncombe County's strategic plan, vision, and goals by improving customer service and utilizing physical resources to meet community needs. So we'll move on into our project at 35 Woodfin for the forward-facing facility. This is the face of the building. The sign's not up yet. This is just a model. It is on order. So if you go over there, don't look for it because the sign's not there. So our project goals were to streamline customer service into a one-stop shop atmosphere, centralize these services to allow us to better utilize our space, and then also to provide safety and security for the survivors at the Family Justice Center while moving these folks in. We had advanced planning, which began in September of 2021. We started programmatic reviews, interviews with departments that extended into 2024. We received construction drawings May 30th of 2024. The project went out to bid. Construction started with a construction start date of August 12th. We received our first TCO January 31st and our second on February 18th. as we move through the building and get areas complete, we're trying to go ahead and get our TCOs and get ready for folks to move in. Our current steps moving forward are to finish up the ground level and the remaining pieces of the lobby. Some of the department feedback that we heard was to maintain safety and security of the survivors. And one of the biggest was to readdress the tax entrance. The building faces two streets. One side's on Woodfin Street, the other side's on College Street. And tax assessment and tax collections are both going to be on the College Street side. So in efforts to avoid confusion, we've readdressed that side of the building as 182 College. Those folks will park in the parking deck and follow the sidewalk to the front door. Some of the other feedback that we heard was they would like a boardroom with enhanced audio visuals capabilities and broadcasting capabilities, as well as to provide hybrid employees touchdown space.
All right, can you go back to that previous slide that you just left?
Oh my, messed it up. There we go.
I just want to highlight the rest of the bullets on that slide, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'm trying to, I know you guys have a 5, so.
Okay. You're fine, take your time.
So part of the Board of Elections is one of the groups that's coming in, and one of our goals is to provide a secure election process by meeting all state requirements and space to house up to 40 temporary election workers and employees. So on this one, we do have area for collaboration space, touchdown areas for hybrid employees, and enhanced audio visual and broadcasting capabilities in our boardroom. So one of the big issues was safety and security in the building across all departments. We looked at it, and so we provided that with dual authentication access control devices, badge access that's got selectable clearances, so that folks at the Family Justice Center can provide those clearances for those staff and partners, as well as Board of Elections can provide the clearances for the folks that they deem to be in the building. The second floor of the building, the top floor, is employee-only floor. It's secured by badge access. So anyone on that floor would either be a Buncombe County employee or escorted by a Buncombe County employee. So here's the 182 College side. This will be where tax collections and tax assessment will reside. Here's a before and after picture. We opened it up. They can see upwards of 300 people a day when it becomes tax season. And so we try to have a nice, large, open lobby where folks don't have to wait outside. So some of the amenities of the building is enhanced security by system and design. We've got a modern boardroom, multiple large conference rooms, and touchdown space for our hybrid workforce. We also have lactation rooms on each floor, so it gets us in compliance. On the ground floor, this is really a shared floor. It's a lot of boardrooms, or a lot of meeting rooms, one boardroom. Board of Elections has some space down there. Community Engagement has a studio down there. And Air Quality has their lab down there. The first floor is our public forward-facing floor. This will house permits, planning, air quality, environmental health, and Board of Elections. On the 35 Woodfin side, it'll house tax collections on the 182 College side. The second floor on the 182 College side will be the tax assessment lobby. The rest of the second floor is secured by badge access. And this will be kind of our back of house once you get past tax, for planning, air quality, environmental health, and sanitation and election services. The building is full of conference rooms. We've got 5 on the first floor, or 5 on the ground floor, 2 on the first floor, and 4 on the second floor that are all on the scheduler and can be booked throughout the county email. We did hire a move manager to kind of try to ease the process of moving, the stress, the anxiety. And so she'll be responsible for just providing a seamless transition from their current location to their future location. We've already started providing labels and tags and boxes so we can make sure that what goes from Office A gets to Office B. Our tentative move dates is March 17th and March 24th for tax collections and tax assessment. Permits and inspections, environmental health, air quality will be the week of April 7th through April 14th, planning the week of April 21st, and Board of Elections the week of April 28th. There are some open items that we have to contend with. Construction delays could always come up. It's still an active site right now, so we've got half the building ready for occupancy, and we're still working like crazy on the basement and just trying to get TCOs as we get portions finished. So construction delays could be an item. We've got signage that's been ordered, but we do have temporary signage that's going to be in place. The boardroom AV equipment is a long lead item, so we'll have to continue to use either the boardrooms that they're in now or this boardroom for our board meetings until the new equipment's come in. And the workload of the moving departments, permits, planning, a lot of times this time of year is their busier season because folks are getting ready for their summertime construction projects. And so that is something that could potentially cause us a little more grief while we're moving. We do have a communication strategy. We did one Buncombe last week. We're communicating both internally and externally through CAPE. They're providing an update on the county website and updating the Google business listings as well. The project's currently operating within our initial approved budget and is scheduled for 100% completion June 1st. With that, I'm open to questions.
Scott, thank you so much. It was exciting last week to get a sneak peek. I know some of us had the opportunity to do that and see this plan starting to take shape, getting really close to being finished. And really exciting to see that we're being really good stewards of the space that we have, the resources that we have with our facilities and our money. And I think that's really a key component to this project is showing our community that we can be responsible with the resources that they've trusted us with, and putting our facility utilization plan into place and seeing each piece of that come forward and getting us to the next step in that plan, which is now also leading us into another county goal, which is affordable housing on property that we own. So being able to see this from a big picture coming into fruition, it is an exciting moment, I think, for Buncombe County, and really appreciate the work that you and the entire team of General Services and all the county departments that have put into this. And I think ultimately it makes it easier for our residents in Buncombe County to find and access the services that they need in a one-stop shop for the most part. So really, again, a lot of kudos to that. I know there's some questions, and I want to ensure that we have some time for that. So
I'll start off. Yes, first of all, thank you, Scott. You certainly have a lot of patience, and we appreciate that, to be able to manage this kind of project and work with all the different departments and really spearhead through this. So thank you for that. I don't envy your job. And I definitely think, from what I hear from the community, having this one-stop shop, this area where there's ease of parking for people to come in and get to all these different county services in one building. It's going to be much appreciated throughout our community. And I know we all take our elections very seriously here in Buncombe County, and I know you've worked very closely with staff in multiple departments. And you hit on it some in your presentation, but can you just speak a little bit more to those concerns that we know around elections, their security and confidentiality, those type of issues that we definitely want to make sure that we're working with our election staff to make sure that we meet those requirements?
Well, part of that was, again, both design and system. We've got the badge access on their secure areas. We've got what we call dual authentication, which would be go up and scan your badge. But if I've picked up your badge, I got to know your PIN too. So to get into those areas, you'll have to have it's an individual PIN for each person and their badge. We've also, to address the confidentiality, at the main entrance, there's a candidate filing room that's there off of the main lobby that can be used for any kind of confidential information. We've also added walls, extended dividers in their areas at the front line desk. We've also got security cameras throughout. We walk through with staff and what do you want to see? Where do you want to see it? And so we've really went, it's going to be one of the most secure places as far as hard to get into that we've got among our facilities.
Are there any other questions for Scott? All right. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Whitesides.
Scott, have you ordered the sign yet?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we've got the signs on order, and we've got banners coming that we're going to temporarily hang to get folks to where they need to be.
Because I get lost every time. I think that's why I asked.
It's 90,000 square feet. It's
Yeah.
easy to get lost.
Easy to
in there.
get lost. All right, thank you so much.
I'm actually
Yes.
just wondering, the consolidation of this building, how much is it saving as far as,
As far as space,
well, money?
I don't have that information, but I can get it for you.
Okay. I'd like that.
It is closing, it's opening up 5 locations for future opportunities.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Any final questions? All right, thank you so much, Scott. We appreciate your work.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
And we do have a 5 o'clock meeting. It has been brought to my attention that we do need to add to the agenda this evening under boards and commission appointments, the appointment to the VIA board. So someone will need to make that motion when we go into our next meeting. We will adjourn this commissioner briefing meeting. We'll take 5 and return back for our regular commissioner meeting.
Since we're late.